Okay, MagicMikeX, one of my subscribers, asked me to do a deck tech on Liliana, Heretical Healer. Let me show you what I came up with. First up, obviously, Liliana, Heretical Healer. So she's a 2/3 creature for 1 black with lifelink, and whenever another non-token creature control dies, flip her over. It says exile her, do some other stuff, but flip her over. And get a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Now, if you're playing black and you can't figure out a way to get one of your other creatures killed, then I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, so after we flip her over, what do we get? We get Liliana, Defiant Necromancer. +2, everybody throwaway card. Neg X, return target non-legendary creature card with converted mana cost X from your graveyard to the battlefield. So, whatever loyalty you have on her, you can take off as much loyalty as you want and put a creature that costs that much from your graveyard back into play with no other nonsense. No sacrifice at the end of the turn, no return it to your hand, nothing. You keep the creature. That's pretty cool. Neg 8, you get an emblem with whenever a creature dies, return to the battlefield under your control at the beginning of the next end step. So, the problem with that is it doesn't get you anything that has already died. So, if somebody has cast Damnation on their turn, then it comes your turn, and you can ultimate Liliana, Defiant Necromancer, you're not getting any of the stuff with her that died before her ultimate got triggered, before you got the emblem. So just keep that in mind. But anyway, I mean, whenever anything else dies, so if you've got the ultimate and you do the damnation, all that stuff is yours. It's going to come working for you, baby. And then we also have 3 other Lilianas, because why not? Since we're in mono black, we've got Liliana the Dark Realms. So 2 colorless black, 3 loyalty planeswalker. +1, go find a swamp, put it in your hand, shuffle. Find swamps in mono black. That's pretty good because usually black has a little bit of problems getting more lands. Ramp is not really a black thing, is it? So, neg 3, target creature gets +X/+X or neg X until end turn, whichever you choose, where X is the number of swamps you control. There are some cards later on you'll see that kind of don't really work well with that aspect. But in a pinch, I mean, if you want to swing at somebody for a lot of damage, say you got 5 swamps in play. You can neg 3 her. She's got more loyalty than 3, ideally. And you can make your Burnished Heart 7/7 and attack. Or you can kill something. Whatever you need. She'll do it for you. It's Liliana. She's here to help you. And steal your soul in the process. Anyway, neg 6. You get an emblem with swamps you control, have tap, add 4 black to your mana pool. I've triggered the ultimate on Liliana before, back when I had Hirobi Death's Whale mono black. And let me tell you, it feels good. It feels good to have that much power on the board. That much raw mana at your fingertips. Raw mana. Nothing like it. Anyway, Liliana, Death's Majesty. So, 3 black for 5 loyalty planeswalker. +1, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. Neg 3, return target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. Your graveyard. It's a black zombie. And again, there's no additional bullshit. There's no exile it at the end of the turn, bounce it back to your hand in the turn, exile it when your mama calls your name because you didn't do your choice. There's none of that. So that's pretty cool. You just get it and keep it. Neg 7, destroy all non-zombie creatures. Now that could come in handy. Maybe that's something that you'd want to build up to, so you have it on tap on your turn, in case somebody has a bigger army than you can possibly muster. Let's go on to Wake the Dead. 2 and a black for a 4 loyalty planeswalker. +1, everybody throws away a card. Each opponent who cannot loses 3 life. -3, target creature gets -X until end of turn, where X is the number of cards, not creature cards, not any additional nonsense, just you count the cards in graveyard, that creature dies. It gets -X, so it can take out indestructible creatures. You got 13 cards in graveyard, somebody has Ulamog, you can take that mother out. -X him to death. Anyway, -7. You get an emblem, another emblem. Liliana loves her emblems. At the beginning of your combat, put target creature card from a graveyard, any, doesn't have to be yours, onto the battlefield under your control, and it has haste. Last turn, I -X'd Ulamog to death. This turn, I'm going to get it back. During my first main phase, I will trigger the ultimate combat. At the beginning of combat, my emblem triggers, and I get to pull a creature out of any graveyard and put it in play under my control. Now, yes, that would require her to have a lot of loyalty, but I have cards in this deck list with proliferate. So it's not as far-fetched as it seems at first to do her -3 on one turn and then her ultimate immediately following. Let's look at the creatures. First creature is the first of luck point. So Aera. Whenever she or another black creature enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. I don't like that. I don't like that it doesn't say you gain life equal to the life lost this way. I mean, it would be only an additional 2. So let's say you're playing a 4-man commander pod. You've got 3 opponents. They each lose 1 life each. That's 3. How much of a difference is you gain the full 3 instead of just 1? But anyway, that's how they printed it. That's the card. I can't do nothing about it except play her and enjoy her and smash face. So anyway, she got triple black, 2/3, and you can sacrifice another black creature, draw a card, like Bone Shredder. So he comes into play. He's got flying. So what? He also has Echo. You don't want to pay his Echo. So he comes into play. You terrorize something. And then, if you have Aera, you tap her, sacrifice the Bone Shredder, draw a card. Get some W's out of that bastard. Brad Squire. I like this guy. I like this guy a lot. This deck, if you look at my Sig River Cutthroat deck, you will see a lot of similarities. Basically, a good deal of my inspiration for this Liliana deck came from Sig, because Sig's theme is discard and equipment. Liliana, it seemed natural that her theme should also be discard, and then equipment because of the specters, which is the same reason there's so much equipment in Sig, is because of the specters. You've got these small flying creatures that don't scare anybody until they're holding a sword of fire and ice in one hand and a sword of feast and famine in the other. And then people wake up and pay attention, like, well, that hypnotic specter, he's pretty nasty. So anyway, Brass Squire. 3 to cast, 1/3 mirror, tap. Tap target equipment you control to target creature you control. So you can equip as an instant as long as he's on the battlefield and ready to go. Burnished Heart, I just thought it would be funny to have this art in a deck full of zombies and death and demons and bullshit. It just makes me happy to put something like this in here. But Magic Mike, if you don't like it, feel free to go with another artistic image of your choosing, something more in line with your vision. So anyway, I'm sure most of my viewers know what this does. It's a 3 cast cost 2/2 creature artifact. Spend 3, sacrifice it, go find 2 basic lands, put them on the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. Typical trick is block, spend 3, sacrifice him, go find the 2 lands so you get something out of blocking and him dying. Cryptghast. What I like about this is some people get tripped up by the reminder text. So if I switch the printing to Ravnica Gatecrash, so stay on the Cryptghast. So here, this reminder text, anything in italics is not applicable to the commander's color identity. It's only reminder text. Some people get tripped up by that, and it's easy to resolve. It's easy to sort out. When you explain it to people, they grasp it right away. But it does take some focus off the game, and it does take time to resolve it if you do have the question. So for that reason, and because this art looks pretty cool, I thought it'd be better to have this Cryptghast in this version of the deck. So there's no question. You tap a swamp for mana, you add an additional black. So if you've triggered Liliana of the Dark Realms Ultimate, and you've got him in play, each swamp taps for 5. That's, maybe I should put more X spells in here. Anyway, other than that, he's a 2/2 spirit for 4 with Extort. Delphi Mind Ripper. Really, actually, yeah, he belongs in here. Screw it. You need to get one of your creatures killed, and he's self-killing. So 3 colors and a black for 2/1 shadowy minion. That when he attacks, if the defending player doesn't block him, which if they don't have anything with shadow, they're not going to block him. They don't even have the option. You can sacrifice him, and they choose to discard 3 cards. So you've got Heretical Healer in play. You've got a ready Mind Ripper. You attack. Opponent doesn't block because he doesn't have anything with the shadow. Sack it. They get rid of 3 cards, and Lily flips. There you go. And your day's work is done. Erebos, Sky of the Dead. 3 and a black for a 5/7 indestructible god. But as long as your devotion black is less than 5, he ain't a creature. He's just some enchantment that sits there looking pretty. Anyway, your opponents can't gain life, which is good because you don't want them getting ahead of you. You want to make sure they stay in a range where you can kill them and win the game. 1 and black, pay 2 life, draw a card. Massacre Worm. Do you know how much this alternate art cost? Do you have any idea? It's cheap. Look at that. Let me go over here carefully. Look. $10 US on TCG for the foil one. 6 for the non-foil. I just, when I saw that my LGS doesn't charge that much more for it, I thought, well, that's that guy's fallen a lot. Now, of course, the original one from Mirrodin, that's going to be expensive, but I mean, hell, just go full art foil and save you some money. And when he comes into play, kill a lot of your opponents, all of them. All of your opponents, all of the creatures get -2/-2 until end of turn. And whenever a creature any opponent controls dies, they lose 2 life. So you've got somebody. When I was playing my Karthus deck, I would have hated to see this guy. This is one of the reasons why Karthus didn't really work, is if I've got a bunch of mana elves, I'm going to be in fear of something like this happening. So I'm not going to cast my mana elves until I think I can go off, which creates some bad tension, and I decided I didn't like it. So, Massacre Worm. You've got 4 Lilianas. They need their Spectre. So he comes into play. 1 black, 2/1 flyer. Every opponent throws away a card. All your opponents. You can just sit there looking cool and watch those schmucks throw away the cards. Hypnotic Spectre. I just like him for the nostalgia. I love the quote. There was no trace of aught on that illumined face. And these aren't that much. I mean, you're looking at the TCG price. $5 US for a foil Hypnotic Spectre. This card is 20 years old, at least. The thing was printed in 2001. And it just looks great. And it fits the theme of the deck. The theme of the deck is discard. Discard and lilies. So anyway, when he deals damage to an opponent, they discard a card at random, which is much bigger than you think it is. He connects to somebody, and you have them fan out their hand, and you just pluck a card at random. And watch their eyes. Watch their eyes to see if you're getting close to something good. Sometimes you get something really good, and sometimes you don't. That's just the nature of the game. Hollow Spectre. So this bastard, he's like Hypnotic Spectre, 2 black and 1 for a 2/2 flyer. But when he hits somebody, you may pay X. If you do, they reveal X cards from their hand, and you choose one of them. If your swamps are producing 5 mana each, or even just 2 or 4 mana each, yeah, you can make somebody hold up their entire hand pretty easy, and pick and choose what you don't want them to have. And if you connect with the Hollow Spectre and the Hypnotic Spectre against the same opponent, you get to decide how you're going to stack it. If you want to pull at random first, or if you want to look and then look at their hand, have them discard, and then pull at random. So you decide how those triggers stack. Hill's Caretaker. I'm not sure about this guy. I love the art. I like the effect. I don't like that he's a 4 mana 1/1, so he dies to a Stiff Breeze. But during your upkeep, you can tap him, sacrifice a creature in play to pull the creature out of your graveyard and put it in play. Basically, your creatures can leave here should another take their place. I had him for the longest time in Karvek, and eventually took him out because it's not that it didn't work. It's when I had him in play, the very few times, the rare times I actually drew him and played him, he didn't seem relevant because of the other things I was doing with Karvek. In this deck, he might be relevant. Give it a shot. And if you don't like it, just put in a Coffin Queen instead. Grave Titan. Let's go with alternate art. Let's have a different Grave Titan for this deck. So 4 black for a 6/6 Death Touchy Giant. Whenever he comes into play or attacks, you get 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. Fairy Macabre. You need some way of controlling graveyards. And if you can get her back to your hand after you discard, so 1 black 2/2. There's kind of a theme here. You've got a lot in this deck. You've got a lot of things that are 2 power or around 2 power for 3 mana and fly. It's just the way it worked out. So you can discard Fairy Macabre and exile up to 2 tarot cards in graveyards from the game. So you don't have to hit the same graveyard. You can pull 1 from this guy, pull 1 from that guy, and they get exiled, and then you just have to figure out some way of getting her back in your hand. In black. Which is tough, I know, but it can be done. Merciless Executioner. When this bastard comes into play for 3 mana, he's a 3/3 Orc Warrior that says everybody sacks a creature. Usually he's the one that gets sacked, so it's kind of dumb of him to show up and tell everybody to sacrifice a creature when usually he's the most logical choice on your side. But, yeah, anyway, that's what he does. Murderous Rider. Excuse me. This guy doesn't really fit with the graveyard theme. I just think he's cool. And he's got lifelink. And so Swift End, 1 black, destroy target creature or planeswalker, you lose 2 life. Okay, fair trade. And then you can play him for the same mana cost as a 2/3 life-linking Zombie Knight. But when he dies, you put him on the bottom of your library. Kind of hard to recur, but if you can figure out some way to shuffle your library, maybe you can get him closer to the top. Maybe. Continuing the Spectres, Needle Spectre. This guy, he's almost junk. If you didn't have the swords, if I wasn't going to make the recommendations or equipment that are down below, I wouldn't have him in here. In Commander, a 3-mana 1/1 flyer with Wither isn't really that impressive. Of course, when he deals combat damage to player, they discard that many cards. So if he's only a 1/1, okay, they discard 1 card. They will get annoyed and they will swat him. They will kill him. So we need ways to make him bigger. Haha, and we have ways. Noxious Gearhulk. I like how black, how dark this alternate frame, this retro frame Noxious Gearhulk is. I want to get one of these for myself. So anyway, he costs 6. 4 black, 5/4 construct with menace. He comes to the battlefield, you may destroy another target creature. Well, why wouldn't you? Of course you're going to. That's why you're playing the damn thing, so you can destroy another creature. And if you do, which you will, you gain life equal to his toughness. So kill something big and fat so you can gain some life. And then kill him and bring him back. Nicholas the Fallen. Yeah, you remember Liliana? How, well, which one? Liliana of the Dark Realms. So, she goes and finds you swamps. Nicholas wants you to play swamps because whenever you play a land, he gets bigger. You may have target player lose 3 life, and if you do, he gets 3 +1/+ encounters. So, if you can drop 2 lands a turn, you're hitting somebody for 6 life a turn, and he's getting 6 counters a turn. That adds up real fast. And he becomes big and scary real fast. I know I've got him in my Muldrotha deck, but I've got a dirty combo with him, so doesn't quite work here. You don't have green. Rankle, Master of Pranks. I haven't played with this guy. I do not own a copy. I kind of want to get a copy to experiment with him to see if he's as much fun as he looks. So 2 black for a 3/3 hasty flying rogue. Whenever he hits a player, choose any number. Everybody throws away the card. Everybody loses 1 life and draws a card. Everybody sacks a creature. You're probably just going to pick each player throws away a card and each player sacks a creature. Because it's kind of weird if you do all 3. So everybody throws away a card, but then they get a card to replace it. But you can do that if you need to, if you're hard up. Play him as the situation fits. Relentless Dead. I like the art in this. I love it. In foil, you can see the price. Jesus Christ, $33 for a foil copy now. Holy shit, I didn't know it was that much. Anyway, if you get one of foil, get one. It's beautiful. So, 2 black for a 2/2. Not 2 black, but just 2 black. So 2 black for a 2/2 zombie with menace. When he dies, you may pay black. If you do, return it to your hand. When he dies, you may pay X. If you do, return another target zombie creature card with CMC X from your graveyard to the battlefield. You don't have that many zombies. You don't. Sorry, I didn't make this tribal zombies. So really what he's in here for is, so you've got something that you can just pitch and you can sacrifice and you can always get him back. For example, if you need, he doesn't really work with Phyrexian Tower. It's kind of dumb to tap him, send him to the tower. So you send him to Phyrexian Tower, you get 2 black, you spend 1 of the black to put him back in your hand. Yeah, that you might as well just have a swamp at that point. Unless you have something that triggers off sacrifice. But in black, I mean, what would you have that would trigger off sacrifice, right? Oh, this guy. So, 2 colorless black for 2/4 legendary human cleric, Yawgmoth, Theron, Physician. So, Dr. Yagi here, he's got protection from humans, which could be relevant. Some games, maybe, possibly, who knows. Pay 1 life, sack another creature, put a neg1 counter on up to 1 target creature and draw a card. Black, discard a card, proliferate. put counters on all your Liliana Planeswalkers in play. Or Obnixilis. I mean, there's not anything else in here that gets counters, I don't think. Anyway, so he can work with Relentless Dead. So you can sacrifice the dead, or even AR. So you can sacrifice the dead to draw a card, and you can pay a black to put it back in your hand. So you've got a ready tool to sacrifice, to use, that will keep coming back to your hand. So you can use it over and over again without jumping through too many hoops. Of course, black, it's not hard to get creatures back out of your graveyard. It's not hard to put them back in your hand. But the fewer hoops you have to jump through while you're doing it, the better. And in fact, a Gravecrawler could fit in here, but Gravecrawler will only come back if you have a zombie in play. And I didn't select a lot of zombies for this deck, so there's not enough to reliably meet the condition of Gravecrawler, that you would have to have a zombie in play in order to bring him back. Right, Walking Atlas. If you're getting swamps in your hand, you need a way to put them from your hand onto the battlefield. Walking Atlas does that. Comes down early, only 2 mana. He's a 1/1, so again, kind of shaky, but you're playing black, so death is only a temporary inconvenience for black. Tiny Bones, Trinket Thief. I decided he'd be cute in here. I just like it. It makes, for some reason, it makes me happy to see that art. So at the beginning of each end step, if an opponent discarded a card this turn, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. Of course, it doesn't say for each opponent that did that. If you made all 3 of your opponents discard a card, you still only get 1 card, but you only lose 1 life. So I guess that's fair. And then you can spend 6. Each opponent, no cards in hand, loses 10 life. Now, if your swamps are producing something like 4 or 5, because you've got Liliana's emblem, you've got Cryptghast. So if they're producing 5, you tap 3 swamps, and you can trigger that twice. Yes, that would be 15 mana, but you spend 12 of it if any opponents have no cards, and they lose 20 life. So that's not 6 and tap, that's just 6 and spend it. So if you've got the mana and they don't have cards, they're dead. Excuse me. So Turgid, God of Fright. 3 and a black for 4/5 Menacing God. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent or discards a permanent card, you may put the card from your graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. At first, so I do own a copy of Turgid, and I should have known better, but it had been a while since I read the card. And a friend of mine plays Turgid as his commander. And I built a deck with Blood Moon. And I was thinking, wouldn't it be funny if he made a discard and I gave him the Blood Moon and he had to cast it, he had to put it in play? If Turgid didn't say May. But then of course in building this, I read the card, oh, it says May, so that doesn't work. But that would be hilarious. Okay, everybody discard, I've got Turgid, I get all the permanents. Hey, here's something that's going to hurt you. Oh shit, I have to put it in play. Yeah, you do. No, it's not like that. Not like that at all. And then you flip it over and you have got Turgid's Lantern, which I don't think anybody cares about in the commander, so screw it. Solemn Simulacrum. When he comes into play, go find a basic land, put it in play. When he dies, draw a card. One of the most basic cards in commander. Sagromancer. Well, if you're killing a lot of things, and you're making people discard a lot of things, you want to get something out of it. So, 2 colors, black, for a 3/3 flying vampire shaman. Whenever an opponent discards card, you may do it. Just do it. Don't forget. You make them discard, you gain 3 life. Whenever any opponent does it. So if all 3 of them do it, you gain 9 life. Don't forget. Whenever a creature an opponent controls put in a graveyard from the battlefield, you may gain 3 life. Just do it. So you drop an Executioner. All your opponents sacrifice creature. Gain 9 life. Don't forget. You're going to need the life for him to draw cards. Alright, let's go to sorceries. Beacon of Unrest. 3 of black, black. Put target artifact or creature card from any graveyard in play under your control, and then shuffle it back in your library. Nice. I like it. Blood on the Snow. Okay, so I called this Damnation with an upside to a friend of mine. He says, it's not Damnation, it costs 6. And I said, no, you're looking at it too narrowly. It's Damnation. Yeah, okay, yeah, it costs 6. So it's not Damnation. Anyway, shut it. Shut it and listen. It's great. You spend 6. It's no sorcery, which is kind of funny. So, destroy our creatures or all planeswalkers, and then return a creature or planeswalker with CMC X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, where X is the amount of snow spent to cast a spell. In this deck, it should work out pretty good. I have it in Karavek, and I've cast it a few times, and I like it. Yeah, it costs 6, but this is Commander, and besides, you've got Damnation. So if 6 is too much, and you really need to kill everything, just cast Damnation. Destroy creatures that can't be regenerated, because their bodies rotted, their bones splintered, and their souls frayed to tatters. Only then were they granted the mercy of death. So grant them the mercy of death. Be a nice guy. Since it's a Liliana heavy deck, we have the Liliana Demonic Tutor. Spend 1 colorless black, search library for card, put in your hand, and then shuffle. Drown in Ichor. I was kind of struggling for cards with Proliferate that are relevant in this deck. So, yeah, this could be Dismember. In fact, you have Dismember down below. But 2 for a sorcery that gives 1 creature -4/-4 until end of turn. Could work. Could be okay. But it really is in here for the Proliferate. So you get that trigger. Exsanguinate. Yeah, I kept banging on about having a lot of mana, right? All that tasty raw mana at your fingertips. Well, maybe you can cast a 20-point Exsanguinate. Imagine that. Everybody else loses 20 life. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. Woohoo! Reanimate. One black. That's 1 black. Not 1 and a black, just 1 black. You spend 1 black, that's it. You tap 1 native, naked, no other special ability swamp, and put a target creature card from any graveyard in play under your control. Yeah, sure, you lose life equal to the CMC, but there's a price for power. Speaking of power, I don't use this card anymore. I sold off the last 2 copies I owned a while ago because it cost so damn much. But in this deck, if you can get Liliana working for you, maybe it's a good option. And just have Liliana riding a throne, a walking throne of zombies. So Liliana is sitting on a roaming throne made of zombies. I mean, what could be better than that image in a deck like this? So anyway, yeah, spend 9 mana, 7 and black, and you get all creature cards from all graveyards put under your control. Okay, instance, Corpse Dance. I don't like that it exiles. That's why I don't play this. Some people aren't as hesitant to let their stuff get exiled as I am. Some people are more aggressive about the game. But there are ways to sacrifice a creature so you don't have to exile it. So if you spend 2 colors, 1 black, and then if you have the 2 to buy it back, at instant speed, put the top creature card from your graveyard into play. So if you're playing this deck, you can't reorder your graveyard. You can't be going through and changing the order around putting creatures on top so you can see them, none of that. So people shouldn't be doing that anyway, but we're at a place in Magic the Gathering now where there are so few of these effects that it doesn't matter, except when it does. And if you're playing Corpse Dance, that does matter. So you would kind of be telegraphing you have this card to people that know about it if you don't reorder your graveyard or allow anybody else to do so. So when somebody says, hey, can I see your graveyard, because they want to see what kind of creature sorceries you have, make sure you tell them you cannot get it out of order. Keep it in the same order. And they're going to wonder why that is. And then you're going to spring this on them. You put the top creature card of your graveyard into play, it has haste, and you exile it at the end of the turn unless you can figure out some other way to sacrifice it. Or bounce it back to your hand. Whatever you can do. Alright, let's go to Death Knight. Actually, let me take a drink real quick. I like this card. I like this card a lot more than I thought I would. So I was testing Karthus. I had a graveyard full of dead elves, and I'm looking at Patriarch's Bidding. And I'm thinking, okay, if I cast the Bidding, I get my elves back. I return to my state of being where I was previously. I don't gain anything. I just am made whole again. But I want the creatures in my hand so I can start casting them for the draw engine. Shit, this sucks. So then I remember Death Denied exists, and at instant speed, you spend 2 black and then X, return X target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand. So if somebody does a board wipe, or you just want to bounce some things back to your hand so you can recur them, you can reuse them, then have at it. To be honest now, looking at this, there aren't a lot of things that I mean, there's the Executioner, there's Fairy Macabre, there's Bone Shredder, there's Burnished Heart, Dalthy Mind Ripper, Liliana okay, yeah, there's a lot of good targets, never mind. There's a lot of good targets for Death Denied. Let's go to Dismember. So, 1 colorless, black, either black mana or 2 life per black pip. And target creature gets -5 until end of turn. Yeah, this isn't going to kill an Eldrazi Titan, but it's good for spot removal against most commanders. Like that bastard, I don't remember the name. He's a 2/5 flyer that does proliferate. If your opponents have so many poison counters at the end of your turn, you get the top card of their library and you can play it for free. Some shit like that. I hate that guy. Anyway, you can rip his ass apart with Dismember at instant speed. And they can laugh about it hideously. So this just clears out the small creatures. Somebody's playing a token strategy, just burn them out. 2 colorless black at instant speed. All creatures get -2 until end of turn. And you can splice it on to Arcane for 5. Death Denied is an arcane spell. It's the only other arcane spell. So that'd be a lot of mana. If you wanted to get 3 creatures with Death Denied, that would be 5. And then if you wanted to splice Hideous Laughter onto it, that would be 10 mana at instant speed. Man, if only your swamps could produce 5 mana each somehow. Anyway, sudden spoiling. Massacre Worm's best friend. So 1 black, split second. Nobody can screw with it, nobody can counter it. Yes, there are ways to get around split second, but they're not that many, and they're specific, so I'm going to pretend like they don't exist. But they do, but I'm going to pretend like they don't. Creatures target player controls become 0/2 and lose all abilities until end of turn. So, if you're being attacked by some big army you can't handle, and you've got Corpse Dance and Sudden Spoiling in play, and Massacre Worm is conveniently on the top of your library, or on the top of your graveyard, you can Sudden Spoiling, Corpse Dance, Massacre Worm comes back, and kills their entire army. Yeah, it's Magical Christmas Land, but it can happen. Anyway, artifacts. Crystal Worlds. What? How are my lands going to get into my graveyard? Well, some of the Liliana effects make everybody discard. And then you might have some card in this deck that you would sacrifice a land for some kind of benefit. And then you can replay it. So if you don't have a land in your hand, you can just pull one out of your graveyard and slap it into play that way. Expedition map. There are some non-basic lands you're going to want to go find. So this will help you go find them. 1 to cast, 2 tap to activate, sack the map, go find a land card, show it to everybody, put it in your hand, then shuffle. We've got a lot of discard effects in here, don't we? We've got a lot of discard effects. So let's play the Grimoire. Remember, an opponent discards a card from his or her hand, draw a card. Don't. Okay. Fair enough. Maybe there are times you don't want to draw a card. But there's a card in this deck that has a replacement effect. We'll get to that in a moment. Excuse me. Lightning Greaves. This doesn't really need to be in here. Equipped creature has haste and shroud. You don't really have that many interesting things to attack with, but the ones that you do have, you're probably going to want to send them into combat as quickly as they come into play. For example, Obnexless. You might want to play him, play a land, make him a 6/6, equip him with the Greaves, and smash into somebody. Something like that. Who knows? Or you want to play the Massacre Worm, kill some small creatures, and you want to send him at somebody you're pretty sure will kill the worm so you can resurrect it and do it again. Loxodon, Warhammer. All those small little specters need some help. This gives them that help. So imagine Needle Spectre. Pay 3, build a Warhammer, spend 3 to give it to the Needle Spectre. It's now a 4/1 Trampler. 4/1 Trampler that whenever this creature deals damage, it has lifelink, essentially. So a 4/1 Trampling lifelinker that also says when it connects with an opponent, for every point of damage it does to them, they throw away that many cards from their hand. Little advantages. Know what scales. Here's one of the reasons why you have so many small creatures, and you might want to Demonic Tutor for this card early in the game. So you're making everybody else discard. You've got small creatures. You drop the scales, and everybody playing big creatures, during their upkeep, they have to return them to their hand. So let's say they have 5 cards in their hand, and they've got a couple 6/6 creatures. Hopefully they don't have some good enter the battlefield trigger. Hopefully you don't have a bunch of opponents playing crap like Noxious Ghoul, Massacre Worm, nothing like that. But if you do, I'm sorry. Sometimes it happens. But anyway, during each player's upkeep, they count the number of cards in their hand, and then any creature with power greater than that number, they return to their hand. Soul Ring, they return them in the hand, and then you can make them discard it. Don't forget that. Soul Ring, the black version. Whisper Silk Cloak, equipped creature is unblockable and has Shroud. 3 to cast, 2 to equip, bang bang done. Sword of Sinnoh and Steel. So I put the 3 swords that I thought were the most relevant to this deck, the most interesting. Fire and Ice is really good, but I had to cut something, and I thought Sinnoh and Steel would be better. If in your play experience you decide that it's not, feel free to swap it out. So Sword of Sinnoh and Steel, creature gets +2/+2, pro black, pro red. Whenever it smacks an opponent, destroy up to one target planeswalker and up to one target artifact. And they don't have to be controlled by the person you just connected with. So you give this to Hypnotic Spectre. You smash somebody. They take 4. They discard a card at random. And then you can look at the other guy. Somebody that had nothing to do with this transaction of damage. No way involved. You can say, hey, I'm going to kill your planeswalker and blow up your artifact. Options. Options are good. Sword of Light and Shadow. This is really in here for the Raise Dead, and because black and white are so relevant when it comes to removal in Commander. So of course the equipped creature gets +2/+2, protection from black and white. Whenever he smashes to a player, you gain 3 life. Yay! 3 life. Every little bit helps, right? But you get to Raise Dead. I find that Raise Dead ability so useful that some of my decks, this is the only sword in there solely for that. A zombie, for example. I'm pretty sure I only have Sword of Light and Shadow and a zombie for the Raise Dead effect. Sword of untap all of my lands and make you throw away a card. So Sword of Feast and Famine, again, just like all the other swords. 3 to cast, 2 to equip. Creep creature gets +2/+2, protection from black and green. Whenever the creature equipped smashes into one of your opponents, successfully does combat damage. They discard a card, and you untap all your lands. I mean, what's not to like? Spectre Shroud. 2. Equip 1. Equip creature gets +1/+0. And whenever it connects with a player, that player discards a card from his or her hand. Yes, they get to choose and discard, but sometimes these small incremental advantages are enough. Again, against 3 other players, you have to pick and choose who you're going to go after with your specters. And this deck, you have to play a little politically, because you don't have a lot of big defense. You're not going to build an army. It's more a surgical strike, special forces kind of deck than a mad giant army of tokens rush. Of course, Noetic Scales helps. It helps quite a bit. The discard helps quite a bit. Speaking of the discard, we're going to enchantments. Let's look at Geth's Grimoire one more time before we go down there. So the Grimoire costs 4. Whenever an opponent discards a card from his or her hand, you may draw a card. Or you can spend 1, and the next time you would draw a card, each opponent discards a card from his or her hand instead. And then the Grimoire triggers. Whenever an opponent discards, you may draw a card. So you spend another 1. The next time you draw a card, each opponent discards, and then the Grimoire triggers. And you can do that with as much mana as you have until you run all your opponents, out of cards in their hand. So that's how you get by with all these small creatures. That's one of the main combos, the main tricks in this deck. Why did I put Bitter Blossom? I had a reason for Bitter Blossom. So why did I... There was a really good reason I had the Bitter Blossom, and I can't remember what it was. I think it was just because I wanted a way of having more creatures in play, of having more blockers, more attackers, more things to do. I built this deck about 2 weeks ago, and then I started working on 2 other decks. And I remember that I had a really good reason for it, but I cannot remember what it is offhand. Anyway, it's still a good card. 1 in a black, and every upkeep, you lose your upkeep, all of your upkeeps. You lose 1 life, and for your trouble, you get a 1/1 black flying creature. 1/1 black blocker, or attacker, depending on if you want to poke somebody or not. Contamination. I switched printing because I don't like looking at that mystery symbol bullshit. So, Contamination. 2 in a black. Oh, that's why. It's sitting right next to the goddamn thing. Contamination during upkeep. Sacrifice creature. Hey. During upkeep, make a creature. Okay. Sacrifice creature or sacrifice contamination. Whenever land is tapped for mana, it produces black instead of its normal type and amount. So, if you have Liliana's emblem, this will screw you over. This will shoot yourself in the foot. But there will be times when it's going to hurt your opponents a lot more than it's going to hurt you. So if all of their lands are producing black and they're not playing a black deck, you're good to go. Keep it running. Keep making a Bitter Blossom token, sacrifice the creatures, keep things contaminated. That's another way of slowing everybody down so you can pull ahead and win the game. Dictate of Erebos. Well, since you're going to be sacrifice creature every turn to contamination, everybody else should join you. That's fair. If you have to sacrifice a creature, everybody else should have to sacrifice a creature too, right? That's what friends do. They'll look out for each other. Exquisite Blood. Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. Again, that's only fair. Especially if you didn't cause them to lose life. If you didn't attack them, if you didn't burn them, somebody else did. You had nothing to do with it. You're just sitting over here gaining life off their suffering. Feeding off their pain and anguish. Painful Quandary. 3 black. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, they lose 5 life unless they discard a card. Palace Siege. 3 black. It comes into play, choose cons. At the beginning of your upkeep, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Yeah, there's another ability too, but we really don't care about that. Waste Not. 1 in a black for an enchantment. So, your opponents are going to be throwing away cards. You want to benefit off that, right? So, whenever an opponent discards a creature card, you get a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Whenever they throw away a land card, you get 2 black. Of course, they do it during combat. If you attack with a Spectre and they discard a card, and they throw away a land card, okay, you get 2 black. What are you going to do with it? Nothing. Not a goddamn thing. Just take it and go. But if they throw away a non-creature, non-land card, you get to draw a card. And it was designed by the Magic community. Let's look at the mana base. The mana base is pretty simple. You've got Bojuka Bog, so you're making everybody discard cards. Some people are going to be discarding nasty things that they can recur. You don't want them to recur those nasty things, do you? No, you don't. Cabal Coffers, you're going to be making, having a lot of swamps. No, this is where it starts getting tricky. So you've got Liliana of the Dark Realms. If you've managed to reach her emblem, her ultimate, you really don't care about coffers anymore. So, in some respects, the deck doesn't need coffers, but it's always nice to have. I shove it into almost every black deck. The only black decks I have without coffers are Sharum and the new deck I'm working on that I'll show you when I am ready to debut it. And Frodo and Sam, because they didn't print coffers in Lord of the Rings. So anyway, let's keep going. High Market. So you've got High Market play. You've Corpse Dance something that you don't want to exile. You send it to the High Market, gain a life. And then you can Corpse Dance it again so you can recur the... So, for example, Massacre Worm. Corpse Dance Massacre Worm. Send it to the High Market. Because you bought it back, you can Corpse Dance them again. So all creatures your opponents control get neg 4 until end of turn. That should clear things out nicely. Karn's Bastion. Tap, add colorless. 4 tap, proliferate. 4 tap, put more counters on your lilies. Lake of the Dead. So this is how you can. This is why you have Crucible Worlds, because you might start eating your swamps. So to get going early in the game, and you're going to want to get Liliana of the Dark Realms online as quickly as possible if you're going to use Lake of the Dead, because you're going to need swamps to feed to the Lake of the Dead. So when it comes to play, sacrifice swamp or bury it, tap, add 1 black, or tap, sacrifice swamp to add 4 black to your mana pool. So, turn 3, you tap a swamp, you've got 2 swamps to play. You tap a swamp, pull out 1 black, play Lake of the Dead, sacrifice the tap swamp. Tap the other swamp for 1 black, tap Lake of the Dead, add 4 black by sacrificing that other swamp, and you have 6 mana on turn 3. Of course, then you only have 1 land, but you've got 6 mana on turn 3. If you can't do something nasty with that, I don't know why you're playing this game. Nikto, Shrine to Nyx. So, choose color. Black. Choose black. Add to your mana pool an amount of mana of that color equal to your devotion to that color. Black. So, count up your black pips. Add an amount of mana equal to your black pips. Blap picks. Anyway. Friction Tower. So, tap, add 1 color mana to your mana pool, or sack a creature, add black to your mana pool. For a Stronghold, 1 and a black, put target creature card from your graveyard on top of your library. Yeah, it makes colorless, but that's not why it's here. It's here so you can get something out of your graveyard, put on top of your library, so you can draw it and reuse it, like Fairy Macabre. Urborg. So you can make all your land swamps and feed them all to Lake of the Dead if you get into a tight spot and have to do such a thing. And if you've got the coffers, you can just replay them again, so who cares. Urborg, just because. I mean, you've got Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth, you've got Urborg... So, you can remove First Strike or Swamp Walk from a creature until end of turn, or tap it for 1 black. The Swamp Walk is hardly relevant these days. It's pretty rare to see a land walking creature these days. But removing the First Strike, that could be relevant. And you don't have to do it to your own creatures. If somebody is being attacked by a First Striker and you want to help them out for a favor, you can say, hey, if I take away his First Strike, so both of the creatures will die, will you do something for me? And you can play it that way. Or you can do it just because you want to screw with people. I attack you with this 8/8 First Striker. Well, I only have this 8/8. I'll take away the First Strike. Why are you doing that, man? I'm just bored. I just felt like it. Terrain Generator. This puts basic lands from your hand into play tapped. So this helps you get those swamps that you're finding with Liliana of the Dark Realms into play quicker, so you can eat them with the Lake of the Dead. Temple of the False God. Don't really need it. I just like that these 2 rows are even, and I kind of needed another land to make it even like that. So I picked Lake of the Dead. Yeah, so sue me. Snow-covered swamp. The reason snow-covered, of course, is because of blood on the snow. If you're eating them, you're not going to have that much snow to cast. Have that much snow to pay for blood in the swamp, so keep that in mind. Reliquary Tower. There's really not a lot of ways to draw cards in this deck. There's Erebos. So you might not really need this card. I just like it, and again, I like the symmetry of having these 2 rows of 7. And I jam Reliquary Towers into a lot of my decks because I have them. I put them in decks where it doesn't quite make sense, but kind of does, because I've got so many damn many of them. If you're in the same boat, I mean, screw it, just shove one in here. Why not? So that's it, Magic Mike. MagicMikeX. What'd you think? Let me know. I'm gonna tag you on this. I'm going to upload this, and I'm gonna reply to the comment where you said, hey, can you do Liliana Heretical Healer? And let you know that she's up and running for you. Alright, cheers.